CST 110 team, welcome back to our Monroe's Motivated Sequence lecture. This is part 2 of the lecture series in which we will finish up with the remaining 2 steps of Monroe's Motivated Sequence. So the final section of part 1 included the importance of entering a counter argument and a logical rebuttal at the end of step 3, which is the satisfaction step. Remember, ultimately, you want to continue demonstrating that you are an ethical speaker, and this is one great way to build your ethical speaking skills and demonstrate that you are fair. Always consider the opposing side. So if you have audience members who are neutral or who are disfavoring your stance, this will help to address any concerns that they may have in your message. Again, for the sake of time, because this speech needs to be 5 minutes in length, you will only have enough time to include one counter argument. If you have other counter arguments, you are welcome to bring them to class, and you can go ahead and discuss them after we complete the speeches. Next, let's address the visualization step. Consider the visualization step as the one step further approach. So normally in most persuasive speech models, we encourage students to address both the problem and the solution. But Monroe's Motivated Sequence takes it one step further to really drive or motivate your audience members to support your organization or cause. So with this step, you'll want to include about 30 seconds worth of information, 30 to 45 seconds, depending how much information you included in the previous steps. And then I want you to pick one of the following techniques. If we support your organization or your proposed solution, what are the rewards for the community, the nation, or the world? So for instance, if your organization seeks to resolve the problem of hunger, explain to us, how will people's lives be improved if we go ahead and support the organization? And similar to sections in which I want you to offer us specific details, I want you to include concrete details in this section because I want you to help your audience members mentally picture the reward if you take this approach. So as opposed to saying, if you support my organization, people will no longer be hungry. They will feel great. I want you to tell me, what does that feel like? What does it feel like when you are no longer hungry? How does your body change? Mentally, how do you feel? Physically, how do you feel? Give us these concrete details so we understand what it feels like when we are eating a nutritional, balanced meal. On the other hand, you can select this technique. If we fail to take action, what are the consequences? So again, give us those concrete details to help us understand the consequences. Again, if you take the cause of resolving hunger, help us understand, what does hunger feel like? So don't just say, if you don't support my organization, people will go hungry and it's going to hurt. Explain this pain. Try to think back to a moment where maybe you felt hungry and perhaps you were in class or at work and you weren't able to get a meal. What did that feel like? Physically, what were the symptoms? How did it affect you mentally? Again, by offering these details, your audience members will feel more inclined to support your cause or your organization. So once you have wrapped up the visualization step, then you're done with the body of the speech, and you're finally ready to build into the action step or conclusion of your message. Similar to the visualization step, this section will consist of about 30 to 45 seconds of information. So here's how we start. First, you'll go ahead and review your main points. In other words, remind your audience members about the problem and the solution you just discussed. So tell us, what was the problem? Today I addressed the problem of homelessness here in Prince William County, and my solution was Give us the name of the organization or the cause. Second, tell your audience members the exact steps they must take to support your organization or cause. What do we need to do? If you want us to donate money, how much? How often? If you want us to volunteer, how many hours? Where do we sign up? If you are advocating for an organization, this is where you will want to give us the contact information, whether it is a phone number or an email address or even a website for the organization. If you are advocating for a cause, what do we do to make sure that we can go ahead and initiate or take action for that cause? Do we need to sign a petition? Spread the word? How do we spread the message to our community, to our friends, to our family? By giving these specific details, you are giving us an action plan and not simply presenting a hypothetical solution that may never take effect. Finally, once you have given us the step-by-step approach of what we need to do to advocate for your cause or organization, end with a memorable statement. Remember, that's all, folks, or thank you is not a memorable statement. By all means, thank your audience for listening to you, but don't end in that manner because it's very cliche. Almost everyone does it. So to stand out from the crowd, think of a quote that summarizes the effect of your solution. Or if you refer to a personal narrative earlier in the speech, then maybe you may wrap up that narrative at the very end. Finally, you may even go ahead and remind us what is the value of helping out this organization or cause. What are the last words you want your peers to remember from your message? That's what we want to end with for your memorable statement. That wraps up Monroe's motivated sequence. So let's take a look at some key tips to help you with speech writing. Number 1, remember to use transition phrases between each step. So when you are moving from your attention to need step, enter a transition phrase. From your need to satisfaction, another transition phrase. Satisfaction to visualization, one more transition. And finally, from the visualization to the action, let us know we're moving to the conclusion. These transition phrases help your audience members continue to organize your speech outline in their minds, and it helps them to further process your information effectively. Additionally, remember to employ the 3 proofs of persuasion in your message. Utilize logos. We're already utilizing logos through our use of deductive reasoning in the need step, and continue to use it by offering logical conclusions and evidence in your message. We're not here to offend our peers or give an either-or fallacy. Remember, there are various ways to resolve the problem, so go ahead and give us details on your approach. You may also employ pathos, which is an emotional appeal to the audience, and the way that you do this is by offering us concrete details, examples, or stories that relate to either the problem or the solution. You may even integrate pathos in the visualization step as you're helping us understand the rewards of helping the community or the consequences if we do not take action. You want to stir the emotions within your audience members, pull at their heartstrings to make them think we need to take action now. Finally, remember to use ethos, which is the second key word, E-T-H-O-S for ethos, because you want to demonstrate credibility by verbally citing your sources in your message. Remember to give us the author's full name and the credentials. Who is the author? Where do they work? What is their educational background? I want to make sure you give me at least 3 citations in your speech when you deliver it, and that will build your ethos. So remember that. Another way to build ethos is through your charisma. Bring the energy. Give us those facial expressions, the gestures, the movement. Remember, if you don't believe in your message, neither will your audience members. So you may have the best message ever written, but if you don't bring the nonverbal cues, then you will not be able to adapt to your audience. So bring that ethos through your credible speaking with the citations and your energy. Finally, if you need a sample outline, remember to look at the speech guidelines folder on Blackboard. There's a great model from a student who submitted one last year, so that should help you write your speech. And there are also sample transition phrases under the speech guidelines folder. What's the final step? Remember to enter the 2 key words in the journal assignment. We mentioned the keyword earlier today in this lecture, and the first keyword was in lecture number 1. So remember, there are 2 keywords. One of them was in part 1. The second keyword was in part 2. This keyword needs to be entered in the journal assignment, and that will help you go ahead and earn your 5 points for this week's activity. Continue researching your speech topics team, and once you have gathered your supporting materials, let's start putting together our speech outline by using Monroe's motivated sequence. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.